Energy healing traditions around the world. Exploring ancient wisdom, sacred practices, and the universal search for balance. For thousands of years, people from every corner of the world have believed that an invisible life force flows through all living things. Though known by many different names, Qi in China, Prana in India, Ki in Japan, Mana in Polynesia, and spiritual life force in countless indigenous traditions, the idea remains remarkably similar. Health is achieved when this energy flows freely, and illness may arise when that flow becomes blocked or unbalanced. In this fascinating exploration, we'll journey across continents and centuries to discover the remarkable energy healing traditions that have shaped civilizations. From the temples of ancient Egypt to the mountains of Tibet, from Native American ceremonies to African healing rituals, humanity has developed countless methods for restoring harmony between body, mind, and spirit. We'll uncover the origins of Reiki in Japan, explore traditional Chinese medicine and the intricate network of meridians, examine India's ancient chakra system through Ayurveda and yoga, and learn how indigenous cultures have long combined nature, ceremony, and spiritual wisdom in their healing practices. Along the way, we'll also examine the fascinating role of crystals, sound healing, meditation, breathwork, hands-on healing, sacred plants, and shamanic traditions. Some of these methods have gained worldwide popularity, while others remain closely guarded cultural practices passed down through generations. We'll also look at what modern science has discovered about these traditions. While many practices remain difficult to measure using conventional scientific methods, researchers continue investigating their effects on stress reduction, relaxation, pain management, emotional well-being, and the powerful relationship between mind and body. Whether you're a skeptic seeking understanding, a student of history, or someone curious about ancient spiritual traditions, this journey offers an open-minded look at one of humanity's oldest pursuits, harnessing the unseen forces believed to promote healing, balance, and inner peace. Prepare to travel across cultures and through time as we explore the remarkable diversity of energy healing traditions and discover why these ancient practices continue to inspire millions of people around the world today. Part 1: Humanity's First Healers, the Origins of Energy Medicine. Long before hospitals. Long before pharmacies. Long before modern science understood bacteria, viruses, or the nervous system. Human beings were already trying to understand why people became sick, and more importantly, how they could be healed. To our ancient ancestors, illness was rarely viewed as simply a physical problem. Instead, many believed that sickness affected the entire person, body, mind, emotions, spirit, family, community, and even one's relationship with nature. This holistic way of thinking gave birth to some of the world's oldest healing traditions. Archaeological evidence suggests that healing rituals existed tens of thousands of years ago. Cave paintings found in Europe, Africa, and Australia depict mysterious figures surrounded by animals, symbols, and what many researchers believe represent early shamans, individuals who served as healers, spiritual guides, and intermediaries between the visible and invisible worlds. These healers often combined practical knowledge with spiritual ritual. They learned which plants reduced pain, which roots lowered fever, which herbs stopped bleeding. At the same time, they believed healing required more than medicine alone. Ceremonies, prayer, drumming, singing, dancing, breathing, and symbolic acts were all thought to restore harmony within the individual. To ancient cultures, everything in nature possessed its own form of life force. The wind carried power. Mountains held sacred energy. Animals were teachers. Trees were living beings. Even rivers were believed to possess healing qualities. Humans, therefore, were not separate from nature, they were part of it. When harmony with nature was disrupted, illness could appear. Restoring balance became the primary goal of healing. Interestingly, this belief emerged independently across civilizations separated by thousands of miles. Ancient China developed the concept of qi, an invisible energy flowing throughout the body. India described prana, the vital breath sustaining all life. Japanese traditions later referred to ki. Greek philosophers spoke of pneuma, the breath of life. In Polynesian cultures, the sacred force became known as mana. Although these civilizations had little or no contact with one another, each concluded that something unseen animated living beings. This remarkable similarity has fascinated historians for centuries. Were they describing the same universal experience? Or were they creating different explanations for the mysteries of life? The answer remains uncertain. What is clear is that energy healing became deeply woven into religion, philosophy, medicine, and daily life across the ancient world. Healing was never viewed as simply removing disease. It was about restoring harmony. Harmony between body and mind. Harmony between humanity and nature. Harmony between the physical and the spiritual. This philosophy would influence countless healing systems that still exist today. As civilizations grew more advanced, these simple traditions evolved into sophisticated medical systems complete with theories, diagnostic methods, and practical techniques, many of which continue to be practiced by millions of people around the world. Our journey now begins in one of the oldest continuously practiced healing traditions on Earth. Ancient India, where the concept of life energy became one of the foundations of an entire civilization. Part 2: Ancient India, Prana, Ayurveda, and the Chakras. More than 5,000 years ago, on the Indian subcontinent, one of humanity's most comprehensive systems of healing began to take shape. Unlike many ancient medical traditions that focus primarily on treating disease, India's approach sought something far greater. It aimed to maintain harmony before illness ever appeared. At the heart of this philosophy was a simple but profound idea. Everything that lives is sustained by prana. Prana is often translated as life force or vital energy, but ancient texts describe it as much more than ordinary breath. It is the invisible energy believed to flow through every living being. Every breath taken. Every heartbeat. Every movement. Every thought was believed to depend upon prana. Without it, life itself could not exist. The earliest references to prana appear in the Vedas, sacred writings that date back thousands of years. Over time, these ideas were expanded in the Upanishads and later integrated into Ayurveda, the traditional system of Indian medicine that remains widely practiced today. Ayurveda, meaning the science of life, views health as a dynamic balance between the body, mind, spirit, and the natural world. Rather than asking only, "What disease does this person have?" Ayurvedic practitioners ask a different question. What has fallen out of balance? According to Ayurveda, every individual possesses a unique constitutional makeup known as a dasha. The three dashas are Vata, associated with air and movement; Pitta, connected with fire, transformation, and metabolism; Kapha, representing earth, water, stability, and structure. No two people share exactly the same balance. This means that treatments are highly individualized. Diet, lifestyle, sleep, exercise, meditation, breathing practices, herbal remedies, massage. Even daily routines are tailored to restore harmony within the individual. Another fascinating aspect of Indian energy traditions is the concept of nadis. These are described as invisible pathways through which prana flows throughout the body. Ancient texts speak of thousands of nadis, with three considered especially important. Ida, associated with the moon, cooling energy, and introspection. Pingla, representing the sun, activity, and vitality. And Sushumna, the central channel believed to run along the spine. Flowing along this central pathway are the chakras. Today, the word chakra has become familiar around the world, but its origins are deeply rooted in ancient Indian philosophy. The Sanskrit word chakra means wheel. These spinning centers of subtle energy are traditionally described as regulating different aspects of physical, emotional, and spiritual life. The 7 most commonly discussed chakras include the root chakra, associated with survival and stability; the sacral chakra, connected with creativity and emotion; the solar plexus chakra, linked to confidence and personal power; the heart chakra, symbolizing love and compassion; the throat chakra, representing communication and truth; the third eye chakra, associated with intuition and insight; and the crown chakra, believed to connect the individual with higher consciousness. While these concepts are central to many spiritual traditions, it is important to note that chakras have not been confirmed as physical structures by modern anatomy or medical science. They remain part of philosophical and spiritual systems rather than established biological fact. Even so, millions of people use chakra-focused meditation, yoga, visualization, and breathing exercises as tools for relaxation, self-reflection, and personal growth. Breath itself plays a central role in this tradition. Ancient yogis developed pranayama, a series of breathing techniques designed to regulate the flow of prana. Slow breathing, alternate nostril breathing, controlled breath retention, rhythmic breathing patterns. These practices are now studied by scientists who have found that many forms of controlled breathing can activate the body's relaxation response, reduce stress, lower heart rate, and improve emotional well-being. While science explains these benefits through the nervous system rather than invisible energy, the practical outcomes often overlap with the goals described by ancient practitioners thousands of years ago. This blending of spiritual philosophy, practical medicine, and disciplined self-care has allowed Ayurveda and yoga to survive for millennia. Today, they remain among the world's most influential holistic healing traditions, practiced not only across India but throughout the globe. As these ideas flourished in South Asia, another remarkable civilization was developing its own understanding of life energy far to the east. In ancient China, healers would describe a force that sounded surprisingly familiar. They called it Qi. Part 3: Ancient China, Qi, Meridians, and the Flow of Life. While India's sages were exploring the nature of prana, another great civilization was developing its own remarkable understanding of health and vitality. Thousands of miles away, in ancient China, physicians and philosophers came to believe that every living thing was animated by an invisible force known as qi. Pronounced qi, qi is often translated as life energy, vital force, or simply breath. But like prana, the concept is far richer than a single English word can express. According to traditional Chinese medicine, qi is the dynamic energy that powers every function of the body. It fuels movement, supports digestion, strengthens the immune system, regulates emotions, and maintains the delicate balance that allows life to flourish. When qi flows smoothly, the body is believed to remain healthy. When that flow becomes blocked, weakened, or excessive, imbalance may arise. Unlike Western medicine, which traditionally focused on identifying specific diseases, traditional Chinese medicine developed around the idea of restoring harmony throughout the entire body. This philosophy is deeply connected to one of China's oldest spiritual concepts: yin and yang. Rather than representing opposites locked in conflict, yin and yang describe complementary forces that continually interact with one another. Light and darkness, activity and rest, warmth and coolness, expansion and contraction. Neither is considered superior. Health depends upon maintaining balance between them. Too much of either can lead to disharmony. This idea extends beyond the human body. Ancient Chinese philosophers believed the same principles govern the seasons, weather, nature, society, and even the universe itself. Another important concept is the 5 elements, sometimes called the 5 phases: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These elements are not viewed as physical substances alone. Instead, they represent patterns of change and relationships within nature. Each is associated with particular organs, emotions, seasons, colors, flavors, and aspects of health. For example, the liver is traditionally linked with the wood element, the heart with fire, the spleen with earth, the lungs with metal, and the kidneys with water. Rather than treating organs as isolated systems, traditional Chinese medicine views them as interconnected parts of a much larger energetic network. Central to this network are the meridians. These are described as invisible pathways through which qi circulates throughout the body. Classical Chinese texts identify 12 primary meridians connected with major organ systems, along with several additional channels. Although modern anatomy has not identified physical structures corresponding to these meridians, they remain a foundational concept within traditional Chinese medicine. Perhaps the best-known therapy associated with meridians is acupuncture. Very fine needles are inserted into carefully selected points along the body. Traditional practitioners believe these points influence the movement and balance of qi. Acupuncture has been practiced for well over 2,000 years and is now used in many countries around the world. Modern scientific research has found evidence that acupuncture may help relieve certain types of chronic pain, nausea, and some other conditions for some people, although exactly how it works remains an active area of research. Proposed explanations include effects on nerves, connective tissue, blood flow, and the release of natural pain-relieving chemicals, rather than the direct measurement of qi itself. A related practice, acupressure, stimulates many of the same points using finger pressure instead of needles. Other traditional methods include cupping, moxibustion, herbal medicine, therapeutic massage known as Tui Na, and gentle movement practices such as Tai Chi and Qigong. Tai Chi combines slow, flowing movements with controlled breathing and focused attention. Qigong, whose name literally combines the ideas of qi and cultivation, includes thousands of exercises intended to promote relaxation, balance, flexibility, and overall well-being. In recent decades, scientific studies have shown that Tai Chi and Qigong can improve balance, flexibility, mobility, stress management, and quality of life, particularly among older adults. These benefits are generally explained through physical exercise, mindful movement, and nervous system regulation, while the traditional concept of qi remains part of the cultural and philosophical framework of the practices. One of the most remarkable aspects of traditional Chinese medicine is its continuity. Despite the rise of modern hospitals and advanced medical technology, these practices have never disappeared. Instead, they continue to be used by millions of people, often alongside conventional medicine, particularly in China and many other parts of Asia. Whether viewed through the lens of ancient philosophy or modern scientific investigation, the central goal has remained remarkably consistent for more than 2,000 years. Restore balance. Encourage the body's natural capacity to heal. And maintain harmony between the individual and the world around them. As Chinese medicine continued to evolve, neighboring Japan would adapt many of these ideas while developing a unique healing system of its own, one that would eventually become one of the world's most widely recognized forms of energy healing. That practice is known as Reiki. Part 4, Japan, Reiki and the Art of Spiritual Healing. Among the many energy healing traditions that have emerged throughout history, few have spread across the world as rapidly as Reiki. Today, Reiki is practiced in hospitals, wellness centers, private clinics, spas, and homes in dozens of countries. Its sessions are often quiet and simple. A practitioner gently places their hands on or just above a person's body. Soft music may play. The recipient relaxes. Many describe feelings of warmth, calmness, tingling, or deep peace during the experience. But where did this practice begin? The story takes us to Japan in the early 20th century. Reiki is most commonly associated with Mikao Usui, a Japanese spiritual teacher born in 1865. Although many legends have grown around his life, historians agree on several key facts. In 1922, following a period of meditation and spiritual practice on Mount Kurama, near Kyoto, Usui developed a healing method that became known as Usui Reiki Ryoho, meaning Usui's method of spiritual energy healing. The word Reiki combines two Japanese characters. Rei, often interpreted as universal or spiritual, and Ki, meaning life energy. Together, they are commonly understood as universal life energy. According to Reiki tradition, practitioners do not use their own personal energy. Instead, they are believed to serve as channels through which universal energy flows to support the recipient's natural healing processes. The goal is not to diagnose disease or cure illness directly. Rather, Reiki aims to promote relaxation, reduce stress, and encourage balance within the whole person. Usui established a training system that remains largely unchanged today. Students progress through several levels of learning. The first level focuses on self-healing and hands-on practice. The second introduces traditional symbols and distance healing methods within the Reiki tradition. Advanced levels prepare practitioners to teach others. One unique aspect of Reiki training is the attunement, sometimes called an initiation. According to Reiki tradition, the ceremonial process is performed by a Reiki master to help students become more receptive to practicing Reiki. The significance of attunements is understood differently within the Reiki community and has not been established through scientific evidence. Following the devastating Great Kanto earthquake of 1923, Usui and his students reportedly provided comfort and assistance to many survivors. This humanitarian work helped introduce Reiki to a much larger audience throughout Japan. After Usui's death in 1926, several of his students continued teaching the method. One of them, Chujiro Hayashi, refined the practice into a more structured clinical approach. Hayashi later trained Hoeo Takata, a Japanese-American woman from Hawaii. Takata played a crucial role in introducing Reiki to the Western world beginning in the late 1930s. For many years, she remained one of the primary teachers outside Japan, eventually training a new generation of Reiki masters who helped spread the practice across North America, Europe, Australia, and beyond. As Reiki gained international popularity during the late 20th century, it also evolved. Today, there are numerous schools and styles. Traditional Japanese Reiki, Western Reiki, Karuna Reiki, Holy Fire Reiki, and many others. Some remain very close to Usui's original teachings. Others incorporate meditation, crystals, sound healing, visualization, or additional spiritual philosophies. Because there is no single governing organization overseeing Reiki worldwide, practices can vary considerably between practitioners. So what does modern science say? Research into Reiki has grown over the past several decades. Many participants report experiencing deep relaxation, reduced anxiety, improved mood, and an enhanced sense of well-being after sessions. Some hospitals and cancer centers offer Reiki as a complementary therapy to help patients cope with stress, pain, or the emotional challenges associated with medical treatment. However, high-quality scientific studies have generally not demonstrated that Reiki can treat diseases through the transfer of an undetectable healing energy. Most medical organizations view Reiki as a complementary practice that may support relaxation and emotional comfort but should not replace evidence-based medical care. Even among practitioners, perspectives differ. Some view Reiki as a spiritual discipline. Others see it as a form of meditation through touch. Still others regard it as a meaningful ritual that encourages mindfulness, compassion, and human connection. Whatever one's beliefs, Reiki reflects a timeless human desire. The desire to comfort, to care, to reduce suffering, and to help others find peace during times of illness, stress, or uncertainty. Yet Japan's healing traditions are only one chapter in a much larger global story. Across the Pacific, indigenous cultures developed profoundly different, but equally fascinating, approaches to healing, drawing not only upon the individual but also upon ancestors, nature, ceremony, and the spirit of the land itself. Part 5: Indigenous Healing Traditions, Wisdom from the Earth. Long before written medical texts, long before universities, and long before organized systems of medicine, indigenous peoples around the world had already developed rich traditions of healing based upon thousands of years of observation, experience, and spiritual belief. Although these cultures lived on different continents and often had no contact with one another, many shared a remarkable understanding. Human beings are inseparable from nature. The forests, the rivers, the mountains, the animals, the seasons, even the stars, were all seen as part of a living, interconnected world. When this relationship became disrupted, illness could follow. Healing, therefore, meant restoring harmony not only within the individual, but also within the family, the community, the natural world, and, for many traditions, the spiritual realm. Across North America, many Native American nations developed their own distinct healing practices. It is important to remember that there is no single Native American healing tradition. Hundreds of nations and tribes have their own languages, ceremonies, beliefs, and medicines. While practices vary greatly, many traditions include prayer, sacred songs, herbal remedies, storytelling, and ceremonies designed to strengthen both the individual and the community. One well-known ceremony is the sweat lodge. Inside a carefully constructed lodge, heated stones are used to create intense steam. Participants pray, sing, and reflect while enduring the heat together. For many indigenous peoples, the ceremony symbolizes purification, renewal, and spiritual connection. Today, many Native communities emphasize that sweat lodge ceremonies are sacred cultural practices that should be conducted respectfully and under the guidance of experienced ceremonial leaders. Another important figure in many indigenous traditions is the healer, often referred to by outsiders as a shaman or medicine person. However, these terms do not carry the same meaning across all cultures. In many communities, healers are respected elders who spend years learning medicinal plants, ceremonial knowledge, spiritual teachings, and community responsibilities. Their work often extends far beyond physical healing. They may counsel families, resolve conflicts, interpret dreams, lead ceremonies, preserve oral history, and serve as guardians of cultural traditions passed down through generations. Farther south, throughout Central and South America, indigenous civilizations also developed sophisticated healing systems. Among the Maya, Aztec, Inca, and numerous Amazonian peoples, healing frequently combined botanical knowledge with ceremony and spirituality. The rainforests became living pharmacies. Generations of careful observation revealed which plants eased pain, which reduced fever, which aided digestion, which treated wounds. Modern medicine has confirmed that some pharmaceuticals have been derived from plants first used in traditional indigenous healing, while many other traditional remedies continue to be studied for their potential properties. In the Amazon basin, some indigenous communities continue to use sacred plant ceremonies as part of their spiritual and healing traditions. These ceremonies are often led by highly trained spiritual leaders and are embedded within complex cultural and religious practices. Because these traditions involve powerful plants, deep cultural significance, and varying legal regulations around the world, they are generally understood within their traditional contexts rather than as casual wellness practices. Across Australia, Aboriginal healing traditions stretch back tens of thousands of years, making them among the oldest continuous cultural practices on Earth. Healing may involve song, touch, smoke, sacred sites, storytelling, and a profound connection to what is known as the dreaming or dreamtime, a foundational spiritual framework that describes the creation of the land, its people, and their ongoing relationships with one another. For many Aboriginal communities, health is inseparable from country. Country is not simply land. It is identity, family, history, spirit, connection. Healing often involves restoring that relationship. Across Africa, traditional healers continue to play important roles in many communities. Practices vary enormously across the continent's thousands of cultures, but healing commonly includes herbal medicine, spiritual counseling, ancestor reverence, ritual, music, and dance. In many regions, traditional healers work alongside modern healthcare systems, each serving different needs within the community. One striking feature shared by many indigenous healing traditions is the importance of sound. Drums, rattles, chanting, flutes, rhythmic singing. These are more than musical performances. They are often understood as tools for ceremony, remembrance, meditation, and spiritual connection. Modern researchers have found that rhythmic sound in music can influence breathing, heart rate, stress levels, and emotional states. While science explains these effects through psychology and neuroscience rather than spiritual energy, both perspectives recognize the profound impact that sound can have on human experience. Perhaps the greatest lesson offered by indigenous healing traditions is not a single technique or ceremony. It is a worldview. A reminder that health is more than the absence of disease. It includes relationships, community, purpose, respect for nature, and a sense of belonging within something larger than ourselves. As civilizations continued to exchange ideas through trade, migration, and exploration, many of these ancient concepts blended with new philosophies. In the Middle East, Egypt, Greece, and later Europe, healers would develop their own remarkable interpretations of life force, spiritual medicine, and the hidden energies believed to shape human health. Part 6: Egypt, Greece, and Europe, the evolution of healing wisdom. As ancient civilizations traded goods, ideas, and knowledge across continents, healing traditions began to influence one another. Some concepts were borrowed. Others were transformed. Still others developed independently while arriving at surprisingly similar conclusions. Among the earliest centers of organized healing was ancient Egypt. More than 4,000 years ago, Egyptian physicians combined practical medical knowledge with spiritual beliefs in ways that still fascinate historians today. Medical papyri discovered in tombs describe treatments for broken bones, wounds, infections, digestive disorders, and even surgical procedures. At the same time, healing was closely connected to religion. The gods were believed to play an active role in health. Temples dedicated to deities such as Isis, associated with healing and protection, and Sekhmet, linked with both disease and healing, served as places where physical treatments, prayers, rituals, and offerings often existed side by side. Ancient Egyptians also believed that words possessed power. Protective chants, sacred symbols, amulets, and carefully written spells were often used alongside herbal remedies and practical medicine. To them, the physical and spiritual worlds were inseparable. Farther north, the civilizations of ancient Greece began building upon Egyptian knowledge while adding their own philosophical ideas. One of the most influential figures in medical history was Hippocrates, who lived during the 5th century BCE. Often called the father of medicine, Hippocrates encouraged physicians to carefully observe symptoms, study patients, and seek natural explanations for disease rather than attributing every illness solely to divine intervention. His work helped lay the foundations for scientific medicine. Yet even in Greece, spiritual healing remained deeply respected. The god Asclepius became the patron of healing. Across Greece, temples known as Asclepia welcomed visitors seeking relief from illness. Patients purified themselves through bathing, made offerings, prayed, and often slept within the sacred temples, hoping to receive healing dreams believed to be sent by the god. Priests then interpreted these dreams and recommended treatments. Some historians view these practices as early examples of combining psychological comfort, spiritual belief, and practical medical care. Greek philosophers also explored the idea that life itself depended upon an invisible force. They referred to this life-giving breath as pneuma. Although interpretations differed, pneuma was generally understood as the vital principle that animated living beings. The idea would influence later Roman, Byzantine, and medieval thinkers for centuries. Another enduring Greek concept was the theory of the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. According to this model, health depended upon maintaining balance among these four bodily fluids. Although modern medicine has long abandoned humorism as a scientific explanation of disease, the underlying belief that health depends upon balance echoes many healing traditions found elsewhere in the world. When the Roman Empire absorbed Greek medicine, many of these ideas spread across Europe. Roman physicians expanded medical education, sanitation, and surgical techniques while preserving much of the philosophical framework inherited from Greece. After the fall of Rome, monasteries throughout medieval Europe became important centers for preserving medical knowledge. Monks cultivated herb gardens, copied ancient medical manuscripts, prepared remedies, and cared for the sick. Healing during this period often combined herbal medicine, prayer, pilgrimage, and religious devotion. Across Europe, countless plants became valued for their medicinal properties. Chamomile for calming, willow bark for pain, lavender for relaxation, peppermint for digestion. Modern science has since confirmed that some traditional herbs contain biologically active compounds, while others remain supported primarily by historical use or limited evidence. The Middle Ages also saw the rise of folk healers, wise women, herbalists, and village practitioners. Many possessed generations of practical knowledge about plants, childbirth, nutrition, and wound care. Some were highly respected within their communities. Others, particularly during periods of fear and social upheaval, faced suspicion or persecution. The famous witch trials of Europe were driven by a complex mix of religious conflict, political tensions, superstition, and social pressures. While some traditional healers were accused of witchcraft, historians caution against assuming that all or even most accused individuals were practicing healers. By the Renaissance, Europe experienced a renewed interest in ancient knowledge. Alchemy, astrology, natural philosophy, and medicine often overlapped. Scholars searched for hidden connections between the human body and the cosmos. One influential physician of this era, Paracelsus, challenged many established medical beliefs. He argued that nature itself held the keys to healing and emphasized observation, chemistry, and the medicinal properties of plants and minerals. Although some of his ideas now belong to the history of medicine rather than modern science, his willingness to question accepted thinking helped shape the development of medical research. Throughout these centuries, one theme remained remarkably consistent. Whether in Egypt, Greece, Rome, or medieval Europe, healing was rarely viewed as purely physical. It involved the mind, the emotions, the spirit, nature, community, and often, faith. As the modern scientific era approached, medicine would increasingly rely on experimentation, anatomy, microbiology, and evidence-based practice. Yet many ancient healing traditions would not disappear. Instead, they would evolve, adapt, and eventually find new audiences around the world. In the 20th century, interest in these traditions would experience an extraordinary revival, leading to the modern wellness movement and a renewed fascination with energy healing itself. Part 7: The Modern Revival, Energy Healing in the 20th and 21st Centuries. For a time, it seemed that ancient energy healing traditions might gradually fade into history. The Industrial Revolution transformed society. Scientific discoveries accelerated. Microscopes revealed bacteria. X-rays allowed physicians to see inside the body. Vaccines prevented deadly diseases. Antibiotics revolutionized medicine. By the middle of the 20th century, modern healthcare had achieved remarkable successes that earlier generations could scarcely have imagined. Yet something unexpected happened. Rather than disappearing, many traditional healing systems began attracting renewed interest. People increasingly looked beyond treating disease alone. They wanted to understand stress, emotional well-being, chronic pain, lifestyle, the connection between mental and physical health, and the role that relaxation, meditation, and spirituality might play in overall wellness. This shift helped spark a worldwide revival of holistic healing. Yoga, once practiced primarily in India, spread across Europe and North America. Meditation moved from monasteries into universities and hospitals. Tai Chi classes appeared in community centers. Acupuncture clinics opened around the world. Reiki practitioners established training schools on nearly every continent. Massage therapy gained wider acceptance. Breathing techniques, mindfulness, and guided visualization became common tools for managing stress. This growing interest was fueled in part by scientific research. Psychologists began studying the effects of meditation on anxiety and emotional health. Neuroscientists investigated how mindfulness influenced the brain. Cardiologists explored the effects of stress on heart disease. Researchers discovered that chronic stress could affect sleep, blood pressure, immune function, and overall quality of life. While these studies did not confirm the existence of invisible healing energies, they demonstrated that practices encouraging relaxation and emotional regulation could produce measurable physiological benefits. The placebo effect also became an important area of research. For decades, the word placebo was often misunderstood as meaning imaginary. Modern science paints a far more interesting picture. Researchers have found that expectations, trust, supportive care, and the therapeutic relationship can sometimes trigger genuine biological responses within the body. Pain perception may change. Stress hormones can decrease. The brain may release natural chemicals involved in comfort and well-being. This does not mean a treatment is proven to work through its proposed mechanism. Rather, it highlights the remarkable influence that the mind and body have on one another. Many researchers now speak of the mind-body connection rather than separating physical and emotional health into completely independent systems. Hospitals also began recognizing that patient care involves more than medications and surgery. Many medical centers introduced complementary services designed to improve comfort during treatment. These may include massage therapy, meditation classes, music therapy, art therapy, guided relaxation, spiritual care, and, in some institutions, complementary practices such as Reiki or acupuncture. These services are generally offered to help reduce stress, anxiety, or discomfort, not as replacements for conventional medical treatment. At the same time, the wellness industry expanded dramatically. Books, television programs, online courses, retreats, podcasts, and social media introduced millions of people to ideas once known only within specific cultures. Chakras, crystals, sound baths, forest bathing, breathwork, energy balancing, aura photography, frequency healing. The popularity of these practices grew rapidly. With that popularity came new challenges. Not every claim made within the wellness industry is supported by reliable scientific evidence. Some products promise extraordinary results without credible research. Others blur the line between personal belief and established medical fact. For this reason, health professionals generally encourage people to ask thoughtful questions. What evidence supports the claim? Is the practitioner properly trained? Could delaying conventional medical care create unnecessary risks? Responsible practitioners of complementary therapies often make an important distinction. Their goal is to support wellness, reduce stress, encourage relaxation, promote self-awareness, and improve quality of life. They do not claim to replace physicians, emergency care, or medically necessary treatments. This balanced approach has helped many complementary therapies find a place alongside modern healthcare rather than in opposition to it. Perhaps the greatest lesson of the modern revival is that ancient wisdom and scientific inquiry do not always have to compete. Science continues investigating how relaxation, meditation, breathing, touch, and compassionate care affect the human body. Traditional healing systems continue offering cultural knowledge, spiritual practices, and philosophies that have inspired people for centuries. Both seek, in their own ways, to answer one of humanity's oldest questions. What helps people heal? The answer is often more complex than any single tradition, philosophy, or scientific theory can fully explain. In our final chapter, we'll bring together everything we've explored, from ancient shamans to modern hospitals, and consider why the idea of healing energy continues to captivate millions of people around the world today. Part 8, Conclusion: Why Energy Healing Endures. Across thousands of years. Across every inhabited continent. Across cultures that never met one another. Humanity has returned again and again to one remarkable idea. That life is animated by something greater than flesh and bone. Whether it has been called prana, chi, ki, mana, pneuma, or by countless other names. The belief in a vital life force has appeared with astonishing consistency throughout human history. We have traveled from the ancient forests where shamans served as healers and storytellers, to India's philosophy of prana and the chakras, to China's flowing qi and intricate meridian system, to Japan's gentle practice of Reiki, to the sacred ceremonies of indigenous peoples, and through the healing traditions of Egypt, Greece, Rome, and medieval Europe. Each culture developed its own language, its own symbols, its own rituals, its own understanding of what it means to be healthy. Yet beneath these differences lies a shared human aspiration: to relieve suffering, to restore balance, to care for one another, to understand the mystery of life itself. Today, modern medicine has transformed healthcare in extraordinary ways. Diseases that once claimed millions of lives can now be prevented or treated. Advanced imaging allows doctors to see inside the body with remarkable precision. Surgeons perform procedures that would have seemed miraculous only a century ago. These achievements have saved countless lives. At the same time, many people continue to seek practices that address emotional well-being, stress, purpose, and spiritual connection alongside physical health. This is one reason energy healing traditions remain popular. For some, they provide comfort during difficult times. For others, they encourage mindfulness and relaxation. Some find that these practices strengthen their sense of hope, resilience, or connection with their community. Others value them as important expressions of cultural heritage passed down through generations. Scientific research continues to explore many complementary therapies. Some practices, such as meditation, controlled breathing, Tai Chi, yoga, massage, and certain uses of acupuncture, have accumulated evidence supporting benefits for relaxation, stress reduction, mobility, or the management of specific symptoms in some people. Other claims, particularly those involving the transfer of undetectable healing energies or the treatment of serious diseases, remain unproven by current scientific methods. This distinction is important. Respect for ancient traditions does not require abandoning scientific inquiry. Likewise, valuing modern medicine does not prevent people from appreciating cultural practices that foster reflection, compassion, or emotional well-being. Many healthcare professionals now encourage an integrative approach. Evidence-based medicine remains the foundation of diagnosing and treating illness. Complementary practices may be used, when appropriate, to support comfort, reduce stress, and improve quality of life. The goal is not to replace one system with another. It is to care for the whole person. Body, mind, emotions, and, when meaningful to the individual, spiritual life. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this journey is not whether one particular theory of life energy can be scientifically verified. It is that healing has always been about more than curing disease. Healing involves listening, compassion, human connection, community, meaning, hope. These qualities cannot always be measured with machines. Yet they have shaped every healing tradition throughout history. Whether one believes in invisible life energies or views these traditions through the lens of psychology, culture, and history, they remind us of something deeply human. People have always searched for ways to ease pain, to comfort the suffering, to understand life's greatest mysteries, and to find harmony within themselves and with the world around them. Perhaps that is why these traditions continue to endure. Not because every claim has been proven, nor because every mystery has been solved, but because the search for healing is, and always has been, part of what makes us human. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the world's energy healing traditions. If you enjoyed this exploration of history, spirituality, and the mysteries of human belief, be sure to join us again as we continue uncovering the fascinating ideas, forgotten knowledge, and enduring questions that have inspired humanity for thousands of years. Until next time, stay curious.